Hello, everyone, and good evening. Welcome to Adam's TV Podcast. I am your host, Adam Samuel, and today we are talking some X Factor UK. This past week that we are recapping was the top 8 week, and that is it going off on my computer. But this week's theme for the episode was Big Band Week. The top 8 performed. 2 people were sent home. Joining me to recap it all is my co-host, Eric. How you doing, Eric?
I'm doing well. A lot of people are going to find this controversial, but I'm not mad at the results.
You are not mad at the results.
I mean, they could have been better, but they also could have been worse.
I'm going to put this out there. This is something that I was thinking while I was watching the show. I think this was the best episode of the season, honestly.
For performance show?
For performances, I was watching this, and I was just thinking, everyone is doing really well. Like, I was weirdly more impressed than I usually am with some of these acts, and I just wanted to put that out there that a lot of acts that were kind of a little bit on the bubble, some people were kind of maybe doing a little bit better than I expected. Just something I was thinking. Do you agree, Eric?
Well, I think the peak of this episode was the peak of the entire season. That was Dalton's performance of Listen, in my view. And I'm sure you might disagree, but you're wrong, and that's okay. And I think that the low point of the week wasn't that low, honestly. I mean, even Casey and Aaliyah weren't god-awful this week. So
we're going to talk about it, but there's one kind of gripe that I have. I will say, I thought this was the best show of the season. But a lot of these songs, which I guess we should touch on the theme of this week, which was the big band.
A lot of these songs weren't
they didn't go. Say Something is not a big band theme. When I think big band, I think Suit and Ties. I think Sinatra. I think of the big, the Feeling Good, maybe some Michael Bublé. And this was there were only two singers that I feel kind of really went with the theme. And everyone else kind of was meh.
I say 4 singers did, actually.
Yeah, and I'm this is with Halloween. The theme should be we should be sticking to the theme.
Or don't have themes at all. I prefer that idea.
I feel this is something that someone else said. It's like putting lipstick on a pig. It's like giving us the illusion that something else is happening when really it's just the same old, which is fine. I'm fine with that, but then don't call it big band if everyone is still going to sing songs that kind of don't go with that.
Well, they had a big band doing the music, so it counts, sort of, kind of, not really.
All right.
Anyway.
Let's kind of get to the headline of we lost 2 acts. Simon's team took a big hit going from 3 to 1. We lost Bella Penfold and Shanako. And I'm just going to go right out at the bat that I think Bella's elimination, while tragic, was expected. I mean,
100% expected.
She was kind of one of those acts that I was like, all right, you're going to be in a little bit of trouble. But Shan, who Eric, I believe, in one of our first episodes was saying was the predicted act to win the entire show, goes out in 7th place. Eric, how did this happen?
Well, I can tell you that I never understood why she was a favorite. I was reporting whatever people were saying when I said that. Yeah, honestly, Shan always left me whelmed. She never impressed me. She never disappointed me. She always was, I'd say she gave a B- performance basically every single time. And therefore, I am not surprised in the least that she didn't pick up voters. Especially, I think Song Choice did her in actually this week. I do. Because the problem with singing Summertime is that as Simon said, you're comparing yourself to Leona Lewis on the show. And Leona Lewis's version of Summertime is probably in my top 5 all-time X Factor performances. It's mind-blowing. Shan's version was, I say a C compared.
We're going to talk a little bit more about Shan. I actually kind of liked her Summertime performance. I appreciated
That's
that at
least. You haven't
least.
Seen Leona.
Well, I for better
Watch
or
Leona,
worse.
then tell me you like Shan's performance.
But I kind of want to touch on Bella one more moment. There's something that I just wrote in my notes, and Bella kind of she goes out in 8th place, right? This isn't an 8th, there's not a block there. She clearly went out in 8th.
Yes.
And I want to ask you, Eric, was this the peak for her? Did she go as far as she could have gone in this competition?
No, because Casey and Aaliyah Danny, and
Don't say it. Don't say it.
I said it. Brendan is still in, and Anthony too. So
we'll see. I mean, I had high hopes for Bella. Like when for me, the performance that she did that grabbed me was the Beneath Your Beautiful performance. If only she hadn't rapped, it would have been like probably my top 5 performances of the season so far. But I liked her. Like she seemed very relatable. I just want to say I'm sad.
Going into live shows, I hated Bella. Live shows, she really started to grow on me pretty damn fast. So I'm a little mad she's gone. Yeah, I'll agree.
All right, going back to Shen. I'm sorry for sidetracking. I all season I've kind of been harping on her a little bit, maybe a little bit too harshly, but I don't want to say this like harshly, but she kind of, it was like they were kind of building up like the Emperor that kind of wasn't living up to the potential. Like she was 100%. Supposed to be like the Candace Glover, like the big voice singer, and she was good, but she wasn't as good as they were making her out to be. And you know, I'm okay with her going out here. I'm not. Like, I'll be honest, I'm still rooting for Brendan and Dalton and Scarlett, but I just like I'm whelmed. Like Eric said,
that's the right word. She never left you overwhelmed. She never let you underwhelmed. She was just whelmed.
Do you think maybe she was eliminated because Simon was kind of pimping her out to be this kind of singer that she wasn't, and maybe the fan base was kind of a little bit rebelling against that, like the Simon team, or do you think this was just the luck of the draw?
I think that was part of it. I think part of it was the actual performances. I don't think it's actually a rebellion. I think it's just based on the performances. And I think that, as I said, everyone else has at least had some either great moments or most of them have had some bad moments, except for a few. But Shan has been consistently C+, B- the entire season. So
there were maybe 1 or 2 performances that Shan I would maybe give an A-. Maybe we'll talk about it a little bit later with Summertime. But here's the next question, because Eric, you and I have kind of had this preconceived notion that we saw the vision of the final 3, and I think in both of our eyes, even though maybe I didn't hope so much, but we both saw her there at that final 3. So now that she's not there, now that that story has ended here, who's going to replace her? And I have my hopes for a certain inchworm to maybe take that spot. But who do you think, Eric, is the most, if you're looking at this from a logical field, if you're looking at the field, who is the most likely person to take that spot?
Flip a coin. Anthony or Danny?
I would go with Anthony over that, but
I think it's going to be Anthony, but I don't know.
I think if it's Anthony, he exits the stage neatly in 3rd place, right? I feel like
either of them would exit in 3rd place. The top 2 at this point is Scarlett and Dalton.
I really think we're sleeping on Brendan. I think as crazy as it might sound, I believe in our inchworm. I believe he might make it all the way, and he's still going to inch on all the way to the finale. A few other points I just want to make before we get into the actual recap. There were only 8 performances. I was kind of expecting some duets, maybe a second performance. Is this usually how this goes?
I'm hoping at least this week they all sing too.
Yeah, I feel like we could have had more, is what I'm saying. Like I feel like there was maybe cut down on the VTs, maybe shove some more. Like give us some more singing. I like the duets. I mean, some people don't, but like,
well, they never do duets on X Factor at this point. They always do them in the finale. I think this week the show is an hour and a half long and there are only 6 finalists. So my guess is that this week they will do 2 performances each. That's what I'm hoping for.
Do we have any news what the theme for next week is, Eric?
It's ABBA.
Oh, God.
I know.
2 ABBA songs?
No, the other song would not be ABBA. If they do it, it's either, if they do 2 songs, it's ABBA and Free Choice.
What do you do with ABBA? Like, there's Mamma Mia.
I don't know.
There's Dancing Queen. Like, what do you do with those?
I think Dalton's going to do The Winner Takes It All.
I've actually never heard that song.
I'm calling it now.
My musical knowledge of ABBA songs covers Mamma Mia and Dancing Queen.
It might be Scarlett. I don't know who does it. But
all right. One final thing I want to touch on that I would be remiss if I didn't mention at the top of our show. Eric, I'm going to hand this over to you, but we are going to have our episodes. They are now up on iTunes. This is a new recent development. It was all thanks to Eric, my co-host. Eric, could you tell us a little bit about the iTunes if they missed it last week?
So yeah, you can now search for us on iTunes using Adams TV Podcast -audio, and you'll pull us up. And we're on Apple Podcasts. Any app that relies on Apple Podcasts to get their directory, like Overcast, my personal favorite on iOS, will find us now. And if your podcast app does not use iTunes, you can manually add us for now, or you can complain to me, and I'll figure out a way to submit it to your directory. So yeah, episodes will be posted for the audio version a day later. At worst, I mean, I could possibly get some of them done the same day, but I'm not promising that. And yeah, it's great that if you like listening to our show but don't like looking at us, now you have an option.
It'd be like, imagine someone's watching this or having downloaded this off iTunes. It's like iTunes Inception. Like we're talking about the podcast while we're on. You kind of understand. Yeah. All right. I just have one final question as like kind of a little bit of a lighter segue before we get into the meat of the episode. Eric, what would be the darkest timeline finale result?
Well, who would be the worst winner?
The darkest timeline for our final three. What would be like the antithesis of our hopeful dream finale?
Well, Casey and Leah winning is obviously the antithesis, but it's not going to happen. So.
All right, that's fair enough. Let's get into these episodes. There's only 8-10 performances in total to kind of talk about. So let's start it off with Scarlett Lee performing "Can't Take My Eyes Off of You." Kind of fit into the theme this week.
She's one of the four that fit the theme.
She very much fit the theme. I give her a A+ there. For this judgment, it's either an A+ or an F. Either you fit the theme or you didn't. I have a lot of thoughts about this performance, and I want to hear Eric's thoughts first. Eric, what did you think?
I thought it was great. She sounded amazing on it. It was not her best performance. Definitely not. And the reason it wasn't the best is because it was sort of like a filler performance type thing. And it's a great show opener performance, but it's not a great... the song is not designed to let her have a moment. And I did like... The thing is, I liked that she giggled a bit as she went to the Devil Desk and joked with Simon, which is something I usually would hate, but with this theme and this song, I sort of got it. And overall, I'll just end by saying Scarlett's my second favorite this year. I want her in that top 2.
I'm going to say that I could have done without the giggling. The giggling was a little bit like... Yeah, maybe it's just heat of the moment, and it's just something that she... Like, it was. Kind of those kind of things. But I have a bit of a controversial opinion. This is my favorite Scarlett performance all season. Favorite? I actually really like this. I've watched... Of all the performances, I've gone back and watched this quite a few times. I really enjoyed this performance. I don't know what it was. There was when she came and she walked and she sat on that on the table. There was like 8 seconds of her singing where I thought she was the best she sounded all season. Honestly, and I'm not joking. I really like this performance. Like I wrote down
vocally. I can't blame you for liking it. I thought the vocals were fantastic.
This was like I said, those 8 seconds, like of her, she reminded me a little bit of like Mariah Carey, like in Kelly Clarkson. I'm not saying this in a joking way. Like I really like. It was. This was really good.
Oh yeah, I liked it. I mean, my thing was, I don't know why I didn't like it as much as you did. I did like it. I mean, I have to say, Scarlett is definitely in my top 2 this year, and this was another awesome vocal from her. But I just think the song choice didn't allow her to have as much of a moment as the other people had.
Maybe it's just because I've kind of come to expect her to go for the ballads, and when she kind of went something different, it was kind of like
refreshing for you.
It was refreshing for me. I can't. She sounds like Kelly Clarkson. Like it's
quite a bit. Yeah, there's some similarities there.
For some reason, like this was the first moment where I was like, I could maybe see her winning. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just crazy saying that, but like I said, those 8 seconds were maybe like some of the best singing all season. Like
genuinely, once it's Dalton and Scarlett in the top 2, I won't care who wins.
We'll see. Like I said, the giggling kind of like took this from like an A+ to an A for me, but like still this was stellar. Like this would maybe get an Adam standing ovation, like if I was one of the judges, which is bizarre to say because I don't usually feel like I would be moved to giving a performance a standing ovation. And let's kind of we're moving on to our inchworm, also known as Brendan Murray. It's funny, Brendan, he was in the bottom 2, was it top 12 week?
Yes, and
now he's in the top 6. He's performing "Say Something" by A Great Big World
and Alex and Sierra.
Okay, by Alex and Sierra. And I feel like if this was a race, if we're still going by that the inchworm metaphor, like the inchworm has now overpassed a number of other
potential
racers,
previous favorites, yeah,
which is weird. Kind of insane. He's beaten Gio, he's beating Shan. Imagine if I had said that after his appearance in the bottom 2, you would have laughed at me. So
I would have laughed at you if you said he beat Shan. Totally, 100%. I would have.
And I want to say, I think he has a chance of making finale.
Nope.
I really believe it.
It depends, honestly. If 2 acts got cut this week, 100% he has a chance of making the finale. If 3 acts get cut this week, he is a goner.
I will just say that the interim joke has kind of been a joke, but it's also kind of been serious. But I will say, if I'm Brendan and I'm in this competition, this is one of those SpongeBob moments where where you're plankton and you look around and you're like, I'm not really sure how I got this far. But I will say, I say that as a joke, but also he has surpassed the expectation set for him. If he was to go home next, I feel I would be satisfied. Like Plankton said, how did I get this far? But I do want to say, that all aside, I thought this was his best performance of the season also.
100% agree.
Which is really, at this point, I'm looking at this episode, this is a really good episode. We got Scarlett, we got Brendan right out of the gate, and I really enjoyed this. This was another time where I was like, all right, maybe we've tossed you aside already, and we maybe need to pull you back for another look. I think he has a shot to make it to finale, honestly. Tell me I'm wrong, Eric.
Well, considering I would have said that Shan was a lock for the finale a week ago, I'm not going to tell you anything because I don't know. I know Dalton and Scarlett are probably the top 2. I mean, I hope they are, but I know Dalton's going to win. I don't know anything else.
Can you imagine the shock? I can already see them playing "This Is Mine Now" by Jordan Sparks as Brendan Murray holding the microphone, confetti shower.
Oh God, don't go there. I mean, honestly, that would be so great though. If only because I would be laughing so hard. I mean, I wouldn't be laughing. I actually like Dalton a lot.
I actually also really like Brendan. I feel like I'm a little bit joking with him, but I actually do still really he was my number 1 draft pick, and I feel like I would still maybe after Dalton, I would still probably pick him second or first. But I am a little worried because we are coming up on the soul crushing week where we lost CC Fry on X Factor. And I'm getting a little nervous because I remember
there's an inchworm vacuum machine coming.
It's the inchworm vacuum. For me, a lot of my favorites that are the inchworm comparison, they usually go out 6th
right
place.
About now.
And that has me a little worried, but I'm still
no, he's not going out 6th place. That's a KC and Olia. He's going out 5th.
If he beats CC Fry, oh my God.
At a minimum, he's getting 5th.
Do you remember CC, Eric?
Of course I do. We've talked about her a lot. Way too much, honestly. Let's move on.
All right, let's go on to Shan Echo.
Oh, but before we do, actually, one more thing about Brendan. The most shocking thing of the whole thing for me, the whole segment with him, was seeing Simon actually argue back with Ada in defense of Brendan.
Maybe he has hope. I'm telling you, this is my now.
By the way, someone did sing "This Is My Now" last year on X Factor.
Oh dear God, let's move on.
It was hilarious.
Shan Echo performing "Summertime." Who's the song by? Do you know? Are you familiar? Is it Donna Summer? I don't.
No, definitely not Donna.
Not Donna Summer.
It's a classic song. I think Ella Fitzgerald. I don't know.
I'm gonna look it up right now.
I think it's Ella Fitzgerald, but let me double check. You double check.
Anyway, well,
if I'm right, I want a prize.
by the way, going back to Brendan, because this is important, Brendan gets an F because his song did not at all fit the theme and was a glaring, like, standing out where I was like, this does not belong at all with this theme. Like, you're singing this great, this is an amazing performance, but Brendan, like, but on the other side, Shen's song was,
which is by Ella Fitzgerald. I just looked.
All right, I guess I was very wrong with Donna Summer, but for Shen, Summertime really fit the theme, and I gotta say, I actually like this performance. I don't usually like Shen's performances, but for me, this was a B+ performance, and usually I'm a lot lower. What did you think?
I thought it was a B. If you isolate it from anyone who's ever sung a song before, if you compare it to Leona, it's about a D, honestly. And
what about Fantasia?
It's a C compared to Fantasia. Leona was better than that song.
Whoa, Leona was better than Fantasia?
Much better. Google it.
All right, I guess I have to Google it. That's a pretty high bar. Like some Idol fanatics.
Leona Summertime is probably, I'd say, in the top 5 reality competition show performances ever for me.
Oh, this putting a lot of backing behind this performance is hopefully.
And that's why Shan went home, honestly, because the second that Simon put her in the same category as Leona, I laughed so hard at my TV on my computer. I was like, "What are you talking about? There's no comparison."
While we're here, I think we should talk about Shan's elimination just a little bit more because.
The bottom 2 part. I think we should save that for the end of the episode.
All right. Let's save it for the end. Final thoughts for Shan. Good performance. I thought she would still be fine. Like I thought
I thought she was going to be the finale.
This wasn't giving me like thoughts like, oh, she's going to be cut next. I thought this was like this was well done. But let's keep it going. Next up, we have Anthony Russell, and the announcer guy always pronounces his name Anthony. Is it Anthony or Anthony? Like
I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about? Like
my favorite one is Wagner versus Wagner back in season 7. But we'll
Anyway, Anthony is performing Beyond the Seas. This this is awkward. I think it's by Sinatra. Am I correct?
Don't know.
All right, we should have done our research a little bit. This is more on me. I wrote that Anthony
Back Lawrence.
Who?
Back Lawrence.
All right. Well. All right. So his performance fit the theme, so he gets an A+ there. The thing is, this song is.
It's a nothing song.
It doesn't kind of go anywhere. Like it's a song that's kind of like middle of the road. There weren't any like big notes. It was kind of middle, like just straight down the line. It was good. It wasn't bad. But
it left me whelmed.
It left me whelmed too. I feel like this is kind of representative of Anthony's kind of run on the show. Like it's kind of like.
Here's what I wrote.
It's inoffensive, is what I'm saying. Like it's very like it's not going to get you angry, but it's also not going to get you too invested. Like it's kind of I don't know. What did you think, Eric?
Anthony has never been great. He's always been good enough. Good enough isn't good enough to win, in my view.
But he might make top 3.
It shouldn't be enough to make the final, but now that Shan's gone, I think that's where he's going.
Who would you want in the final 3? If not Shan, who would be your pick? Say it's Brendan.
Genuinely, you're gonna be surprised.
Danny.
No, not Danny. Actually, I think it might actually be Brendan who I'd prefer.
Can you imagine?
It's not gonna happen. It's gonna be Anthony, Scarlett, and Dalton. But I actually kind of like Brendan there only because I know he wouldn't make the top 2
for the arc. It's the Haley Reinhardt spot.
It's the arc, but it's also the fact that he's definitely getting a 3rd if he makes the final, which means I can be really happy with whoever wins.
All right. Well, I guess
take away the suspense for me.
Let's keep it going. There is some suspense. Let's talk about Acacia and Aaliyah, and they are doing an original song called "Act Our Age." And I just wrote in my notes, how are they still here? And on that note, I want to throw it to Eric. What did you think of their performance?
Well, Adam misquoted me or thought what MJ wrote in the live blog on Sunday, which is because my internet and all of DC's Verizon Fios internet was totally garbage and crapped out on Sunday right while X Factor was on. So not just my internet, the entire DC area who's on Verizon Fios could not watch X Factor on Sunday.
Curse you, Verizon Fios!
Yep. They're our anti-sponsor of the week. Anyway, honestly, I thought that I'll quote MJ. Stop trying to make them happen. They're not gonna happen. I'll quote MJ quoting Mean Girls. And I will say the lyrics to his song were total garbage, but the production at least made it sound somewhat decent. So, better than usual.
I gave some of the intro and Brendan. They get an F for this song. Does not fit the theme. Like,
it does not at all.
Like,
other than the fact they had drums for some reason. But
I don't understand. Like, this should have been something like I said, it's like putting lipstick on a pig. Like, we're pretending it's big band theme, but really it's not. And it really is just, and that just bothered me. But, you know, I feel like every time we see a Casey and Aaliyah, it's kind of the same thing. They're gonna do this. They're gonna bounce and they're gonna dance, and I'm gonna feel kind of nothing. Like, the song's kind of.
If you're listening to the audio version of this podcast right now, go back and watch the YouTube version just for about 3 seconds of Adam doing that.
I was doing totally my impersonation of a Casey and Aaliyah, and I mean, I think of Gio. I think of Bella. I even maybe think of like the boy group that went out like in 14th place. Like,
no, not them. No, not them.
I honestly, we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but I honestly think they're still here because Robbie Williams needs a group.
100%.
I feel like this was not like a Rachel Crow in X Factor. Like, they wanted her to stay around. Like, the producers want Robbie to not be getting a free check for being away.
Yeah.
And that's kind of all I really have to say about them. I mean, you could literally copy and paste what I've said for every performance in the past because there's no growth here. Like, everything is kind of, if there was a peak for these guys, we've hit it weeks ago. Like, this isn't 100%. Going anywhere. There's nothing.
Well, they've done really well to finish in 6th. All
right, let's talk a little bit about Bella. She is performing "Strong" by London Grammar. She does some rapping again, and I'm just gonna say it. I still don't think. Maybe she should have been in the sing-off. I don't think she deserved to go out first. What did you think?
I would agree, because occasionally deserved to go out first, as they have for several weeks now. But I wish she didn't rap as usual. Vocals were pretty good. Not Scarlett or Dalton level good, but good. Bella was always super likable. And here's my controversial opinion of the week. I thought she was better than Shan, Casey, and Aaliyah, and maybe Anthony this week.
I'm going to back that up. I think overall, this is a problem I have with these singing shows, and it's a problem that's kind of plagued these shows in the past, American Idol, The Voice, everything. The show doesn't really judge on like the whole body of work. They kind of judge on the like, what have you served for me today? Like, and I think, first of all, Bella has kind of had a better overall run of performances than Anthony, Casey, and Aaliyah.
Then Casey and Aaliyah, yes. Anthony probably not, actually. Because if we're including the first 3 rounds of Bella, they were awful.
Well, I've only started with her first performance that I saw in the judges' house was meh. But from there, she was kind of on like an upward trajectory.
The first 2 performances were worse than the judges' houses one. Honestly, she started off awful. And somehow when she hit the live stage, she got really good real fast.
I'm gonna miss her. Like, there was a time when she was like in my top 3 favorite contestants, like on personality alone. Like, she's
probably in my top 2 favorite contestants.
She just seems like a chill person, and I'm like, I'm a little sad that she left because I feel like she had a shot of maybe cracking top 5, and it's a shame that she went out in 8th place.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to Dalton Harris, who
AKA the chosen one.
Eric is going to have a lot to talk about. He is performing "Listen" by Beyonce, which I believe was a reprise, right, Eric?
100%. He's been at judges' houses.
All right. I'll hand it over to you because you've been such a big fan. What did you think?
First of all, I thought it actually did fit the theme, the way they arranged it, so good on that. Do you agree with that?
I don't know. I feel like his was kind of middle of the road. It's weird. He doesn't get an A+ or an F. He kind of is like exempt from it because it could go both ways. You never know.
It's a theme. He killed it, I think, honestly, because the reason I think this was his best performance of the entire competition was because he actually showed some restraint on some parts of it. He didn't go for the big notes every single time, and when he did, they were perfect. So I think Dalton is the best technical male vocalist we've had on X Factor, possibly ever, or at least since Matt Cardle back in season 7. And I can't wait to see him win. I'm excited.
I'm gonna agree with you. I think he's the chosen one. His performances, like I said, he has not had a misstep. Like, we are not top 6, and like everyone has stumbled, except maybe Scarlett, like a little bit. But I feel like everyone's kind of He has so far set him apart from the rest of the pack that it would be a shock if he went out, which maybe would be like a famous last words.
Don't say that. He's not going to go out. I'm not worried about
it. You're more involved with like the fans online. So what are they kind of saying about Dalton? Are they very high on him?
Well, the fact that he's the only one who's ever trending on YouTube every week, I would assume he's fans are pretty high on him. So he trends on YouTube every week. Almost no dislikes on any of his videos, and everyone agrees that he's just the best singer on the show this year. The one thing that makes me think that Scarlett could possibly win is the fact that Dalton's from a different country.
Yes, you mentioned that curse like a few weeks ago, and we were talking about how Americans never win on the show, right?
Yeah, but he would be the first foreign act to win X Factor UK. And so I think that actually might push him over the edge, honestly, because that would be a reason for someone to be okay with him winning, besides the fact that he has an amazing voice.
We'll see. I like Dalton. I think if he wins, it will be a deserved win, and honestly, I think he will win.
I think so too, and I'm excited.
All right, let's move on to our final performance of the competing night. It's Danny Tetley performing "My Way." This one is by Sinatra, right? Yes, this is a Sinatra song, and I feel like going into this week, I thought that Danny was going to be in big trouble. He was one of those contestants that I thought this might be his week, and when he started singing "My Way," I was getting the vibes. Like, this is a saying goodbye performance. This is a like I've gone as far as I can go. This is me.
And I did it my way.
And I did it my way. And that's not the case. I was wrong. I was thinking Danny would be going. But what do you think, Eric?
I thought it was pretty good. But the problem for Danny is that even when he got the pimp slot, he got screwed over because he was immediately preceded by the best performance of the entire season, in my view. So, and my favorite Ada moment of the entire week from "Oh my God, why is she a judge?" moment was like when she cried and said it was the moment of the entire show. To which I say it was good, but hashtag I don't disagree.
I mean, I'm gonna say like I don't think I've ever heard a rendition of this song like on any of these shows that wasn't pretty amazing. Like, and I will say, this might have been my favorite performances of Danny's all season.
It was probably Danny's best. It was one of Danny's best.
It wasn't like an A. It was like a B+, but that's like better, all things considered.
For good. For Danny, for good.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was a good performance. Like, from what we've come to expect from Danny, there's a good growth. I think next week, though, is the end for him, though. I'm going to say it. Do you think, Eric?
It's a coin flip between him and Anthony, who makes the third spot.
I'm hoping not. I'm really pulling for Brendan. But, at least he did it his way.
And on that note,
let's talk about the results show. So before we get to that, I just want to ask you, Eric, who, in your opinion, were the top 3 singers of the night?
Well, Dalton's number 1. Scarlett's number 2. Brendan. Genuinely, I'm gonna agree. Brendan number 3.
That was my exact order. I would put it. I would put Scarlett number 1, honestly. I really liked her performance. Scarlett.
I liked
Dalton,
it, but
Brendan.
no. Dalton had a moment.
All right. But
And,
we'll see.
that's all things said. I've heard him sing the song before, and I still thought it was a moment.
It's so ironic because they're opposite, like, on our draft. Which, by the way, I looked back and did an update on where we stand. I have 4 of the 6. You have the remaining 2. My 4 is all 3 boys and Danny, and you have Scarlett and Casey and Aaliyah.
Okay, so I lost the draft, and I don't care.
I just had to mention, just had to. All right.
I'm rooting for you to win the draft because I want Dalton to win. So.
All right, so let's get to the results. So
we'll both be wearing the hat when Dalton wins.
I get to wear the crown? Oh, I get to dust off the crown.
I get to wear one too because I'll be happy.
No, that's not how this draft works.
Happy.
That's not how this works.
I'm allowed to be happy.
All right, let's talk about the results. First act eliminated, as we mentioned before, was Bella.
We talked about her already.
Poor girl. I mean,
yeah,
she deserved better. She's one of those acts like, what do you do with Big Band Week? Like,
yeah, for something she could have done.
All right, so we get to the bottom 2. It's Shan and Casey and Aaliyah, and I was thinking, Shan's got to be saved, right?
I was thinking so too.
I was like, they got to save her. This is like, imagine like the X Factor format for American Idol, and the bottom 2 is Pia Toscano and Stefano Langoni. Like, you're looking at it, you're like.
But the messed up part is that the judges of the Idol couldn't have saved Pia if they wanted to.
I was like, I don't know, 15 or something. Like, I remember watching that. Like, my face like this. Like, no, Pia, why?
For me, the worst bottom 2 of all time was not when there's one bad person and one great person in the bottom 2. The worst one is when there's 2 awesome acts in the bottom 2. And I'm thinking of Ella Henderson and James Arthur. I
think the most, like, scarring bottom 2, you're going to totally laugh at me for this, was on American Idol 11, top 7 week, with Colton Dixon and Holly Kavanaugh, who were my 2 favorites all season. I was like, no!
I liked Colton at first, and then I found out he was a Christian artist, and then I started liking him a little bit less because that's how the type of music I'd buy. And Holly was a club seal, remember?
I love Holly. Holly was like, it's like your first love. It's like the first act that I've ever like been invested on in one of these
That's
shows.
me and Ollie Murs on X Factor.
Like, so I just always have that connection with Holly Kavanaugh. Like, that was like the first act I ever followed. And I remember in season 10, like, I remember her audition, and then she was cut. And then when she came back, I was like,
yeah.
And then I was like so excited, and she made it all the way to 4th, but this is not the time nor place to talk about that. First up, we have of the bottom 2, Shanako performing Rise Up.
Oh God.
That would have been the darkest timeline. Shanako is performing Rise Up by Andra Day. And Casey and Aaliyah, who are sticking to their guns, are doing Bang Bang by Ariana Grande. And I should do more like.
No, I'd say that was F minus.
F minus.
No, F minus. Like what I gave Shan, minus.
I mean, honestly, like I would have been okay with either of these 2 going. I know that's a little harsh to say, but I just imagine there's like a subset of fans for the X Factor UK who are watching this and screaming at Ada like, no, why are you doing this? But I feel like once she was in the bottom 2,
it's not a subset. It's a large percentage actually. You'd be surprised. There are a lot of people on YouTube who are pissed, and so we're gonna get some hate mail over this. But yeah, honestly, I would have sent home either of them. I would have flipped a coin.
I feel like, in retrospect, like once Shan was in the bottom 2, she was a goner. I feel like Simon has kind of picked Scarlett as his like his golden goose that he's going to push all season.
He hasn't picked either of them, honestly. I think he wants Dalton to win at this point.
I don't know. I mean, like
he wants Scarlett in it for as long as possible, but
I mean, once they went to deadlock, I was like, okay. Like
when they went to deadlock, I'm like, I thought deadlock was their graceful way to get rid of it, Casey and Aaliyah, but no. They actually went to deadlock and they actually got it wrong.
All right. I want to talk about this for a minute. The results. In addition to being a judge, Simon Cowell is also the executive producer. And
Yes.
I'm going to say that he probably knows who's going home every week. Do you think so? Or do you think the results are a surprise to him?
I honestly think it's a surprise to him for most part. Until the very end. Like for the finale when he knows the top two, I think he knows which of them wins, so he knows who he has to be nice to. But I think until then, actually, it is a surprise to him. Because I don't think he's a good enough actor.
I'm one of those people on like America's Got Talent, like in this show, where the results is always like the judges know the results and which way kind of the producers are voting. I'm like a total cynic, and I don't believe there's any legitimacy to this whole like the final two.
Oh, result. I think Simon knew they wanted him to take it to deadlock. I don't think he knew the result.
But he's the HBIC, like he's the guy in charge.
It depends on how good of an actor you think Simon is. I don't think he's that good of an actor.
I believe he's a crafty one. In addition to his yachts and mansions, I think he maybe is a little bit of an actor. But honestly, that's our show. So we go forward. We have our final 6. And I want to ask Eric, where do we go from here? Like, well, what's
one
what's
of
next?
2 different ways. Either we get rid of 2 and we have the final 4, or we get rid of 3 and have the final 3.
Which are you a fan of? Which are you pulling for?
I'm pulling for get rid of 3 and have the final 3.
I don't know. I will say, like, I'm a little sad.
Unless we get the same amount of performances either way from 4, which I don't think we will. So I want a final 3.
I mean, I'm a little sad that, like, the season's kind of coming to an end. I've kind of a little bit enjoyed the season. Most of it, I will say, has been because of like rooting for Brendan, like the enjoyment of it and reliving my days supporting CC Fry. And I feel like that's awful because he is so much better than CC Fry ever was.
So much better. Yeah. I like the season, honestly. It almost makes, well, once Brendan wins, it will have totally made up for last
Brendan
season.
Wins?
No. Did I say Brendan?
Yeah, once Brendan. Everyone, Eric has predicted the winner. Brendan will be taking the show. He is the winner.
God damn it,
Eric has put that out into the universe.
Okay. When Dalton wins and Scarlett comes second, it will have made up for last season being a complete mess.
All right. And on that note, do you have any final things you want to touch on, or you good, Eric?
I am good. I'm excited for next week. I'm hoping we get 2 songs next week because I don't want everyone's last impression before the final to be an ABBA song.
Dancing Queen.
Oh God, I wonder. Someone's gonna sing that. I wonder who we're gonna saddle with that song.
All right, there is one thing of note that I want to touch on, unrelated to the X Factor. This is just an article that I saw on MJ's actually. Almost the full list of contestants competing on America's Got Talent, the Champions, has been released. We kind of knew about it because we kind of touched on the spoilers a little bit. Eric, are you excited to be seeing your Golden Buzzer act, Shin Lim, returning to the stage?
Yes. I mean, I'm excited to see lots of these acts, honestly. The way I'm going to watch America's Got Talent, the Champions, I'm going to play it ahead of time, is I'm going to pretend the results don't happen at all. I'm going to pretend it's just a compilation of seeing all your favorite acts come back and perform again.
Yes, we will be. Go on.
We're going to be covering it, but I personally am not going to be invested in the results at all because there's no prize apparently. So I just want to enjoy watching some of my favorite acts again.
All right, I got one question though for you, Eric. Any snubs? Anyone you're kind of surprised wasn't on the list?
I've only been watching for a couple of years. There are a couple of acts from Britain's Got Talent I would have liked to have seen, but
I really would have liked to see. I mean, because there's so many acts and they're like winners on this act. I'm a little bummed we're not seeing Lindsay Sterling, although I kind of understand why she probably wouldn't want to be coming back. But you know, I really don't like that they're doing this now. Like now that I've like seen the list, because this is not an easy competition. Like this, I'm kind of pining for the days of like fodder acts where there's someone who could go home, because this is a stacked competition. Like,
And that's why I'm choosing not to look at it as a competition.
all right.
I'm choosing to look at it as a special variety show with lots of different acts performing and the judges being there for some stupid reason. That's how I'm looking at it. And that way I'm going to be able to enjoy it.
All right.
And if I'm looking at it as a competition, it's going to be infuriating.
And on that note, I want to say that my name is Adam Samuel. You can find me on Twitter at AdamSoapbox or on my 2 websites, AdamSoapbox.com, AdamCVblog.com. I have a new post coming out on AdamSoapbox.com this week. It's going to be up by the end of the month. You can look out for it. You can subscribe to there. You could subscribe to the AdamSoapbox.com. Where can we find you, Eric?
EricAscher.com. Eric_Ascher on Twitter. Eric Ascher01 on YouTube. I did tell some people I'd be talking about this David Cook show, so let me bring that up real fast. Last week I saw David Cook on Wednesday. It was amazing. Acoustic tour. He's awesome. If you ever get a chance to see him, go see him. Funny. He's my favorite Idol winner we've had ever. And yeah, he's really good live. I loved all the songs he did. It was great. So see him if you haven't yet. He's great. That's my plug of the week.
Yes. It's kind of sad because once the next 2 episodes of The X Factor are over, we're kind of go on a little bit of a break until we get some more.
We're going to go on a 2-week break because I do want to talk about that most overdone songs. I want to do that.
That is a good idea. That is something we should do. Yeah, that's it. And then American Idol is going to be coming back up in
February, March.
I'm excited, honestly. I'm hearing some exciting news about American Idol that I'm looking forward to. I'm hoping for another good season. And on that note, to our viewers, this was fun. To Eric, thank you so much for joining me for another strong episode. Check us out on iTunes if you didn't hear earlier.
And rate and subscribe.
And yeah, and on that note, see you next time, guys. Bye.